So I want to hone in on one particular thing. There's a certain person that will remain unnamed who is of influence in the alternative media that has recently called out the propaganda being spewed by the potentially possessed by dark spiritual entities, Paul Joseph Watson, out of London, England. This is an individual who has put out some great content over the years, Paul Joseph Watson, who in the last year has gone from awakening people to the New World Order to basically putting out the New World Order's propaganda that all Muslims are terrorists, and going from exposing the false flags to actually promoting the official narrative. And I've seen how so many people have been swept up in this hysteria. There are also some people that I respect that for whatever reason believe that Donald Trump is legit. And I believe wholeheartedly that in the next year to 2 years, they are going to see the errors in their short-sightedness. There is blind support that I am seeing people giving Donald Trump that is, in my opinion, akin to what we saw with Barack Obama. I'm not trying to insult anyone. That's not my intention. But I would be a liar if I omitted the truth. And the truth is, I'm disturbed that there are so many people caught up in this Clinton deception. I would even say Sanders deception. The guy is not against the use of drones in the Middle East. And this Trump deception. You think I see some sort of an angel in Gary Johnson? If I did, you'd see me promote Gary Johnson on this channel. I've seen Gary Johnson on Fox News promoting foreign military intervention into Africa's affairs, specifically surrounding the Coney 2012 nonsense. That Gary Johnson. Now we have Ted Cruz, in brief, talking about using police forces to patrol Muslim neighborhoods. This is a very also deep labyrinth that people need to be able to explore as to why this is happening, why we're seeing politicians, be it Trump, Cruz, or others, say these inflammatory things. In addition, you have people that are obviously a part of the establishment. Yet, like a wind-up doll, whether it be Newt Gingrich, Bill O'Reilly, Romney, Glenn Beck, or others, these are all people that are clearly a part of the establishment, and they're all clearly and obviously and methodically attacking Trump. What I interpret from what I'm witnessing in this act is a strategic way to boost Trump's popularity by providing the false narrative, promoting the false narrative, that the elite, that these men hate Trump. We have Newt Gingrich talking about secret societies. Ooh, Trump wants to buck the secret societies. People like Newt Gingrich don't openly talk about secret societies, but now that the cat is out of the bag, and there's a lot of people that are conspiracy-minded, although there's a lot of conspiracy trash out there, on cue, we have this YouTube video of Newt Gingrich talking about Trump wanting to go his own way and not wanting to abide by the recommendations of the secret societies. And by the way, the last few years I've talked about how a false narrative has been put out there, that Vladimir Putin is not a part of this establishment. And there are people today that see Putin as outside of the system that will find themselves to the truth in the next coming years when things really shift. So much of what you're seeing geopolitically is an act on the world stage. Much of what you're seeing politically is an act on the world stage. And we see North Korea. And North Korea is like this convenient wild card. Whenever there is a need to have a distraction, we have North Korea test firing missiles. And of course, this is becoming normalized. It's becoming normalized now to be having these states of emergency in response to North Korea. Joel Skousen has said some things that I think are spot on. Joel Skousen has also gone in a particular direction of thinking that a certain political candidate is outside of the New World Order's influence. Going back to Trump, we're talking about a man that was featured in a Simpsons episode where he wins the presidency and we go in debt to China. Now, what I've suspected is that, this is the time period for a Republican president to be selected, put into office, and the continuation of the plans for World War III continue on, with inflammatory things being said and retarded things being done economically, deliberately by design, to destroy this country. We have a problem here. We have a problem here with people that know a great deal about the conspiracy. Again, in my opinion, making a fatal mistake given their energy to promoting people they don't personally know, to know for sure that Trump is for real, not just playing a role to make the world angrier at the United States. There is no debate, in my opinion, that he has said things in a certain way that have gotten a reaction. What if that's the point of all this? To get that rise. I'm not blaming the terror attacks on Trump. That's not what I'm talking about. That is not what I'm talking about. Let's talk about the protests. Whatever is taking place here with these Trump protests, and there's Trump, get him out of here. And then you have these pop-up, whether they're working for Soros or somebody else. On both sides, there's a video out there of people debating in Chicago, and it's heated on both sides. I'm seeing ignorance on both sides. From those that are the Sanders fans that are angry at the Trump protesters, where are they speaking out about the dead bodies in the Middle East? What this military-industrial complex is involved in itself in? They got nothing to say. Many of the Black Lives Matter protesters, they have nothing to say. They're offended by all lives matter. They're offended by that hashtag. Oh, no, they've already put out, shotgunned out a meme that's racist. I've never seen an Afghan Lives Matter, Iraqi Lives Matter hashtag. It's not in our collective consciousness here in the West. It doesn't exist. And it is the downfall of this society. But going back to Ted Cruz, a couple months ago, in this stage theater between Trump and Cruz, he said that Trump was going too far with his comments on Muslims, to turn around, do an about-face, and recommend that Muslim neighborhoods be secured. And people are going, what the fuck does that mean? Secure Muslim neighborhoods. And we have the head of the New York City Police Department speaking out against this insanity. The world is watching this rhetoric. These men, and many of them, and it does include Trump, and I wish more people can see that, the masses, and not just the masses here in the West. Think about those that are watching these statements being said around the world. Tyrannical orders, dictatorial powers, power-hungry, megalomaniac, narcissists, psychopaths, complete phonies. This is being normalized, that this is how politicians act. Whether or not they win or not, that's not the point. America is numb to the fact these politicians are talking to them like they're shit. That they're leading them over a cliff. Not just one of them. All of them. That's right. Every single political candidate, Democrat and Republican, that is on stage right now is knowingly deceiving the masses, watching the theater and the script on TV. It's like with professional wrestling. And there's no question why there is a connection between Vince McMahon, who I call the devil of professional wrestling, we'll talk about that in another video, and why, and Donald Trump. They have agreements. Okay, the argument's going to go in this direction. And you're going to say something witty. But some of these guys are talented enough that, like the wrestlers, back in the old days, it was just about the action. It was actually being tough and going for hours and hours and hours. And then the WE, or formerly known as the WF, evolved, and it became required that you be a good actor, that you really play things up. Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior, Clash of Titans, completely staged. And of course, there's all that mind control with professional wrestling. It used to be hero versus villain. Then it went from lesser villain to a really dark villain. Right before the time period of 9/11. So we have people that should know better, that are not seeing this professional wrestling style of debate between Cruz, between Trump. And then the news is regular. Here's what Trump is tweeting. Who gives a fuck? I don't care what he's tweeting. I'm not even going to waste my time being angry at him, just like even Obama, part of the system, New World Order puppet. I'm not going to let them manipulate my emotions, and I didn't the last decade to think that Obama, the Muslim, is the sole mastermind. Maybe it was because I got involved in this around 2000, 2001, and more so around 2003 and 4 and doing research before Obama was even on the scene. Maybe that's why. And so certainly not now am I seeing Trump as the ultimate evil villain. He's doing this on purpose. Just like some of these Republican senators and congressmen that have made some pretty inflammatory statements that have made women very angry in this country regarding abortion, regarding rape. And I hear, who said what? My interpretation of those stories, which you've already seen, you're dealing with people that for whatever reason are a part of this system where they are deliberately doing things that a rational person normally would not do. I would also direct your attention to a video that I previously uploaded to this channel featuring, it was a collage, really a mashup, of a number of very awkward exchanges between Vice President Joe Biden and young female children of the congressmen. His families came up to have their picture taken with Biden. We were talking about deliberate, overt, inappropriate touching on the part of Joe Biden. And we're talking about some girls as young as 5. The kissing on the face. The girl literally going, yeah! And literally getting away from Joe Biden and beyond the creepy grandpa thing. And there's a lot of people that can see that. And they can see how disturbing that is, that imagery is, and still not know why. Well, why is that taking place? So why is it being shown? Because it's really part of the show. I mean, okay, whatever they do behind closed doors, eyes wide shut, okay. Why is it being filmed to put on C-SPAN? They're programming the American people and the people worldwide that this is normal behavior. Okay, that this is how people act. And then, of course, there's people that are intelligent enough to see what's taking place. And for those people, there's a little bit of alarm. People are looking at this and they're like, this is like, in my opinion, how I saw it, it was like a tribute ritual. They have been placed in power, those congresswomen, those congressmen, their children. It's like dealing with the mafia. They have orders. If they don't follow those orders, and it could be all those congresswomen, all those congressmen voting in favor of a preemptive strike on Iran, a preemptive strike on North Korea, a preemptive strike on Russia, a preemptive strike on Syria, a preemptive strike on China. Something that ultimately leads to, it's all in how you look at something. So when I see those congresswomen and congressmen literally offering up their children and Biden on camera, groping and fondling and giggling and touching and poking, that's a ritual being performed to a unknown number of individuals that are being affected by that. And a certain amount of them, they're not going to see that, have that light bulb go off above their head and go, what is this? They're not going to use their intellect. They're not going to have access to that part of their brain that's going to show them the truth or even their intuition. Instead, they're traumatized and they're programmed subconsciously by being exposed to so much of that control stimuli in plain sight that's in pop culture, or whether it be a Beyonce music video with the stormtroopers, the police state behind her, or Rihanna, one of these weird Grammy videos, or Lady Gaga, or Madonna coming out riding the bull, riding Satan, maybe with a bunch of sweaty men around her, all with like little devil horns. Overt symbolism. So we take a step back and we look at Donald Trump. Look at his associations. Not just the photographs with Trump and Clinton, but Trump and Hulk Hogan, Trump and the WE. You know, and it's not the first time where we've seen this in plain sight, where we can see how things are staged in professional wrestling. And even some of the politicians and public figures that go back and forth in and out of the WE, including Jesse Ventura, who was recently associated with the WE, where he wore the Illuminati jacket for some reason just several years ago. And then we see Jesse Ventura of Conspiracy Theory, the TV show, under Ted Turner, True TV, and his association with Alex Jones. You know, I've never wanted to make that connection before. But in recent years, it's easier to see the inner clique of some of these individuals that are involved in their own minds as top dogs in the alternative media or in the political zeitgeist. So I think the reasons why people have gravitated to Trump, the overconfidence, the narcissism, the bold statements, the dumbing down of his message so Americans could get it. You know, he's kind of like regressed, especially in the last few weeks. Again, what Trump is doing, in my opinion, is a part of a show. There is, as I close here, a character that Trump and others are playing before the world, including Ted Cruz and his anti-Muslim rhetoric, which is really a cover for something else. Because greater racial conflicts do spill out of things that seem small. We're in an era of time in the great America that has so many different people in it, many of them American citizens, whose ancestors are from different parts of the world. As a result, we have a lot of people here in America and Europe with different levels of melatonin. As things ramp up to a full-blown hysteria, where people are looking for Middle Eastern people everywhere, you have Hispanics, you have people from Southeast Asia, and you have quite a few people in this country that are a little bit of everything. And how many people do you think have completely overlooked, how many of you, that a lot of this is really about creating targets out of certain people, turning segments of society against other groups? How many of you are able to conceive of how far they can take this, to where people are freaking out and having panic attacks and fears and emotional responses based on what's being manufactured in the news? How many of you are able to conceive of a period where people are reacting to, again, the color of someone's skin and whether or not they think that they're a terrorist, to the point where it affects larger communities? Ultimately, that is the world that I see emerging. And that is demonstratable when people go to Facebook after things like the Brussels attack. And again, people joke like they're possessed by something about burning and shooting Syrian refugees, or raping them, or hurting them. At a day and age where there are more attacks on Muslims and mosques in not only America, but Canada and Europe. Meanwhile, you have people that are clearly establishment figures that have played their role in the conquering of the Middle East, Afghanistan, and Iraq over the last decade that go out on the world stage and denounce Trump. This is how you artificially, there's many ways to create a fake paper candidate out of thin air. There are many ways of doing this, and they don't always use the same methods. Okay, they don't always come in the form of, here, we're going to give you a black guy that talks about change. There are different flavors and variants of this con man that periodically we see con men emerge, misleaders, political candidates that are there to grasp the energy of a certain demographic of the American public. They had their time with the Democrats, with Obama, and the liberals, and those that were at one point a part of the anti-war movement. They co-opted them easily. I saw what they did at Portland. All those people for Barack Obama was disgusting. 50,000 people in Waterfront Park. Talk about heartbreaking. After all the work that I tried to do in that town to raise awareness, only to see Trump come out, who I perceive as the Republican equivalent of a Barack Obama, with the same shady ties. The people that want to believe in that candidate at that time, people that want to believe in Barack Obama, they don't want to hear about his ties to Goldman Sachs. They don't want to hear about his ties to Monsanto. They don't want to hear his statements and the inconsistencies and how he's saying one thing over here, but here he is over here. Here he is smiling as he does it. With Trump, I'm following my intuition and I'm looking at the body language, even in how he's working in lockstep with the other candidates, although he pretends to fight Cruz. He and Cruz in reality are like this. Okay? Doesn't matter who wins. They are part of this conditioning process that this is what America has devolved into. This type of stereotyping all Muslims. And there's going to be a consequence to where this goes with America just, coming out of the closet with going full tyrannical and stereotypical. They've always had it in their plans to use foreign troops to bring order to the United States if there was some sort of a civil unrest scenario where government, local structures cease to be able to maintain their power over the people. And so you can have situations that literally boil the surface and blow out of proportion. And that can be happening concurrent to an economic collapse, to where there's no longer funding for police and National Guard and local things, and they'll make sure there's no funding going to certain directions to maintain stability with the use of our own people, the American people. As we see civil unrest rise, perhaps food riots included, and a cascade of things. Meanwhile, overlapping that whole reality is they've drilled for this for decades. Foreign troops from other countries to work on what would be former U.S. military bases. We can even see Walmarts turned into certain facilities used for processing people in and out of certain locations. Again, a cascade of different events. This violent rhetoric that you're seeing from some of these political candidates is part of this theater to demonize the U.S. image. Because by that time where they pull that lever and they send in foreign troops, there will be more hatred towards America because of what's been projected from our politicians. So I do charge Trump, I do charge Obama, I do charge Cruz, I do charge Hillary, I do charge Sanders, I do charge all of these Democrats and Republicans standing before you today with treason to misdirect the attention of the American people by playing part in a political show where the winner has already been selected, where they're in agreement to attack each other within the script, but never address the real issues of the big banks, or the occupation in the Middle East, the pharmaceutical drug industries, the media monopoly. They have these agreements. That's why you don't even see basic debates about media monopoly and media control. I mean, the very fact that people have kind of accepted the fact that we're in a certain level of slavery should show you that people have really compromised. They've compromised their integrity, and they're apologizing for how things are and how the politicians are actually acting. And so that there's a reason why you're seeing so much political atheism in this day and age. And it didn't start overnight. And the solutions never lie in being saved by a politician. And so my final statements are, I hope that some people will actually see the light with regards to Trump, Sanders, and Clinton. People that I have respect for. But the masses are always going to be conditioned to vote for what they are told, led to believe, are the lesser of the evils.